Hello there, and welcome to the semi-final reflection of the How Are You Guided Meditation Series Masterclass. In this session, we explore attachment styles. Just a quick note, you may notice my voice is cocooning a little bit today, so my throat is feeling slightly strained. So I'm going to have to thank you in advance for bearing with me. We're going to look at attachment as the guiding pattern that shapes how we move through every part of our wellness wheel ecosystem: social, emotional, physical, spiritual, environmental, occupational, and financial. So we're going to look at social, how comfortable we feel asking for support or setting boundaries with friends, family, or colleagues. Emotional, how easily we notice, name, process, regulate, or express our feelings without judgment. Physical, how well we care for our bodies, how safe we feel in our bodies, how comfortable we are with touch, noticing tension or allowing rest when needed. Spiritual, how we relate to meaning, purpose, or practices that nourish our inner life. Environmental, how safe and supported we feel in our spaces and whether our surroundings nurture or stress us. Occupational, how we show up at work, whether we assert our needs, collaborate effectively, or we overwork to feel secure. Financial, how we manage our resources, plan for the future, and feel secure or anxious around money and abundance. So just to bring it back to the How Are You Guided meditation. So when we slow down in meditation, these patterns often surface: restlessness, self-criticism, withdrawal, or pull toward isolation. Because going through the attachment styles will help us see how our attachment responses influence not just our relationship, but even our thoughts, our choices, and behaviors across our entire wellness wheel. What feels important for me to name from the outset is that attachment does not only influence how we relate to people, it also shapes how we relate to rest, to stillness, to ourselves, and to familiar patterns such as over-efforting, isolation, withdrawal, self-criticism, self-sabotage, and shame, to name a few. Throughout the How Are You Guided Meditation series, themes that surfaced again and again were restlessness, anxiety, difficulty pausing, trouble focusing, avoidance, harsh inner dialogue, and the urge to disconnect or self-abandon when stillness felt uncomfortable. In this masterclass, we are going to use these details and these experiences to have a look and understand how they make sense through the lens of attachment. So rather than viewing them as personal shortcomings, we are going to begin to recognize them as protective responses we've upheld. The intention of this reflection is not to diagnose or pathologize, but to build an understanding. We're going to look at the core theory of the attachment styles, how each attachment style manifests across the wellness ecosystem, how these patterns surface during meditation and daily life, especially when external distractions fall away. And by naming these patterns with clarity and self-compassion, we create space for awareness, for regulation, and choice, rather than remaining stuck in habit or self-judgment. At the core of the attachment theory, the theory explains how our earliest relational experiences shape the internal systems we use to relate to ourselves, to others, and to the world across our lifespan. Relational experiences are how our caregivers responded to us when we needed comfort, when we needed safety, attention, or support. Attachment is also shaped through social learning, what you absorbed by watching the relationships around you. This includes how emotions were expressed or suppressed, how conflict was handled, whether rest was allowed, whether connection felt safe, distant, chaotic, or conditional. Together, these direct experiences and observed relational patterns inform how we regulate our emotions, how we seek connection, withdraw, self-soothe, or move toward isolation and sometimes shame. Attachment is not a flaw, nor is it a diagnosis. It is an adaptive system. These patterns once helped us cope, survive, and belong. Now let's have a look at the 4 primary attachment styles. We'll begin with the secure attachment. As a child, when you were upset, you needed comfort or needed help, someone usually noticed and responded. Support was generally available to you. You likely also observed caregivers handling their emotions and relationships in relatively safe and predictable ways. What you'll notice about yourself today is you tend to trust yourself and others, feel comfortable with closeness/intimacy and independence, and you recover from stress with relative ease. During meditation, stillness may feel accessible and familiar. Focus, self-compassion, and reflection feel manageable and non-threatening for you. The anxious, preoccupied attachment. Care and attention were inconsistent. Sometimes your needs were met, other times they were not. You learned to stay alert and work harder to maintain connection. You may have observed heightened emotional responses or unpredictability in relationships around you. And what you'll notice about yourself today is you may seek reassurance more often than not. You overthink interactions, feel emotionally reactive, or become self-critical when connection feels uncertain. During meditation, restlessness, racing thoughts, anxiety, and urgency often surface. Pausing for you may feel a little uncomfortable or unsafe. The avoidant, dismissive attachment. Your emotional needs were often minimized or discouraged. You learned early that relying on yourself felt safer than reaching out. Emotional distance or self-reliance may have been modeled as a strength. What you notice about yourself today, you value independence. You suppress your emotions and withdraw when need arises. During meditation, stillness may feel unfamiliar. You might notice numbness, distraction, difficulty sensing and feeling the body, or a pull toward isolation. And lastly, the disorganized, fearful, avoidant attachment. The person you needed comfort from was also a source of fear, unpredictability, or confusion. Safety felt inconsistent or unclear. You may have observed chaotic or frightening relational patterns. What you notice about yourself today, you may feel torn between wanting connection and fearing it. You oscillate between anxiety and withdrawal. During a meditation, you'll observe conflicting impulses, chaotic thoughts, shame, or even an urge to stop the practice may arise. Staying grounded for you can feel especially challenging. What is important for me to note and disclaim: attachment styles are not rigid categories. You may find that you relate to more than one style. This is normal. And it is especially true if you were cared for by multiple caregivers and or in different environments which shaped different survival strategies and responses. So what I essentially mean is when attachment style may feel more dominant, while others may emerge in certain relationships, situations, or moments of stillness. In meditation, this can look like feeling calm one day, restless the next, connected in one relationship and withdrawn in another. This variability is not a failure or an inconsistency. It is just information about your lived reality. In closing, your attachment patterns are information, not limitations. And as we close off, I encourage and invite you to reflect on how you are during meditation. Do you even feel drawn and comfortable with meditation? When you are in meditation, are you able to notice what surfaces and recognize how it may mirror one or more attachment styles that feel familiar to you? Secure, anxious, avoidant, fearful avoidant, or a combination depending on the context. I encourage you to gently name what you observe and put it down if you are a journaler, which I encourage you to uptake. When you gently start naming what you observe around your attachment style, put down, this is anxious attachment showing up during meditation. This is avoidance responding. And I choose to return to my breath and my body to encourage myself to stay present and safe. What matters the most is not identifying a label, but noticing the connection between what arises in stillness and how you move through the world thereof. The aim is not to eliminate these patterns, but to recognize them within a larger context of your well-being. Awareness will create space, and the space will create a choice. What do you want to work on? What does it matter? Why does it matter that you reframe your responses, your response pattern? Take a moment right now to thank yourself for being here and for staying curious. I'll meet you in the final reflection. We return our attention to the Gen Z's wellness considerations. Thank you for showing up and for being here with me.